It is Sunday morning, March 29th. I am back, and this is video 9 in my Gerhardt Konig series. Yes, he is the man who's on trial in Hawaii for the second-degree attempted murder of his wife, Ariel. Now, I'm slowly watching the testimony, so I am behind. If you want to watch the daily coverage, just go to YouTube or Court TV or whatever and watch it. You don't have to wait for me or rely on me. That's not my deal. I just take my time and drink coffee. And if that's not quick enough for you, Michelle Amorin was the last person who took the stand, and she's a criminologist from the Honolulu Police Department. And she was doing DNA testimony on the rock, specifically the bloody side or the stained side of the rock. She was asked in cross-examination, did you swab the other side of the rock? And she said no. So I assumed the other side of the rock wasn't swabbed. It turns out it was. I just think it was swabbed by somebody else because they now have DNA results for both sides of it. And there was a gentleman named Scott Henderson that covered all of that in Friday's testimony. Now, before we got to Scott Henderson, though, we had to do this little side journey with Detective Enuma. Remember how I left off my last video where I was like on the edge of my seat? I'm like, this is the guy that had the search warrant for his laptop. This is gonna get good. And I have to admit, I get a little bit disappointed because I think I'm used to like a lot of oohs and ahs and these jaw-dropping moments in trials. And so, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, ooh, tell me about this affair. There were text messages and phone calls and I got to hear it. And then it kind of turns out to be pretty benign, right? It was a warrant to search Gerhardt Konig's laptop. Detective Enuma did this. Now, what happened was they called him, and I think this is outside of the presence of the jury, so this is almost like a voir dire. They need to understand what exactly he's going to testify to, and they need him to explain the software that he used before he's really allowed to testify in front of the jury. Now, I'd mentioned in a previous video that the search warrant only allows for specific filters to be applied. So there's only specific things they're looking for. So they were looking for the dates from December 1st of 2024 to March 24th of 2025. This software is called Axiom. So you filter by date and then you put in some keywords. Some of the keywords that Enuma was asked to search for are keywords like divorce, separate, Ariel, syringe. So these are some of the things he's asked to just basically search the computer during those periods of time to see what they can find, like what hits they would have. Now, what this would do is this actually searches the hard drive. So it's going to pull any email, any website searches that he did, any places that he visited, any Google searches. So it's going to pull all of that. I normally love this type of like data dump because usually there's some really, really good stuff here. Now, I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I'm just getting old and I'm impatient, but I don't feel like Detective Enuma was doing a really good job of explaining, like he knows what his job is. He knows I apply this, I type in this, I do this, and I do this, but he doesn't exactly have the gravitas to be presenting in court. So this was a little bit of a struggle because there was just some things like he didn't know the answer to, or it's not his area of expertise, so he can't answer it. And you could see that the defense attorney was getting really frustrated because he kept asking some of the same questions over and over and over again. And Enuma's like, I don't know. I don't know. And at one point, the defense attorney, you hear him, he goes, Jesus Christ. Like you could tell he was frustrated. And at one point he turned around to like his client and some people in the audience, and he kind of rolled his eyes and he doesn't realize he's on camera, which makes him look terrible. But I will admit there were times where I was like, come on, baby, just spit it out. Because I felt like Enuma couldn't articulate what he was trying to say. And the prosecutor does a really good job of, he's like, okay, let's go back and let's try this again. And so he's trying to like nurse it out of him, but it was tough. So of all the filters he applied and all the keywords that he put in, there were 2,339 instances, I guess, where these words showed up, right? So there might be emails, there might be searches, there might be different things that contain the words like divorce and syringe and these types, and Ariel and like these types of things, right? So the doctor was on his laptop quite a bit, right? Like he's pretty active emailer, it looks like. And then there was a tit for tat over the word separate because we think of separate as separation, like separate before divorce. But also there's separate, like you could mean it as separate, like those two things are separate from each other, like separate and separate. So there was some conflict of, are we sure that it was intended the way it was intended? Because there were 1,000, at least this is what Detective Enuma says. He says there was about 1,000 emails or searches or quantifiable objects, I guess, that contained the word separate. And that sounds like a lot, right? Like that sounds like a lot. That does not look good. And so then, of course, the defense wants this. He does not want this exhibit presented to the jury. He feels like this should not be admitted into evidence. He gives this heartfelt speech about this is not the spirit of the search warrant. Like the software is not being used the way it should, and it's giving kind of these false results of things that really aren't intended to be the way they were being intended. And he says, what's it tell you when the software, you put in a word and the software gives you 1,000 emails with that word in it? It's like, because that's what your client was talking about, my friend. But whatever. He asks the judge to toss out this exhibit, and the judge says, nope, he does not believe that this is an indiscriminate search. He believes that Detective Enuma did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had a search warrant, he put in the dates, he put in these keywords, and this is the amount of information that came up. It's not anybody's fault. That is what Gerhardt Konig was apparently putting into his computer. So he says there is no violation of the search warrant and that it is going to be included as evidence. But then the defense is like, Judge, can you at least give us the weekend? Like, can we please, we just want to be right. Can we please just go in and look one more time to make sure this is right before we give it to the jury? So the judge says, okay, great. We will wait. And I think it's going to be like Tuesday before Detective Enuma is allowed to testify about this particular bit of evidence, because they want the weekend to kind of sort through it all and just make sure that if we say that Gerhardt Konig sent 1,000 emails or received emails with the word separate in that we know exactly how many there were. Now, I'm going to run out of time, and I really want to get into the details of Scott Henderson's DNA testimony. So please come back for the next video. I'll put it up right away, but we got to come back because I need some time to do that one separately.